Hi, I'm Rob from robnonphoto.com, and today we're going to be having a look at a fantastic photo book by a famous photographer called Helmut Newton. If you haven't heard of him already, check him out on the internet. Just go to Google, do an image search for Helmut Newton, you'll see his images. Fashion portrait photographer. One might almost say notorious in his time, and probably still today, for taking photos that probably push the limits of what generally was accepted by fashion magazines in terms of their eroticism, if you like. And he was accused a lot of the time of being quite sexist towards women. I'd probably describe him as his photos as definitely controversial. He definitely uses striking, beautiful, strong women in his photos. Sophisticated and above all brilliant. Now, some people really like Helmut Newton, some people can't stand him. But if you look at some of his photos and you think, actually, I wouldn't mind seeing some more. This book, Helmut Newton Work, published by Taschen, is a bargain, because what you find is when you look on the internet for photo books by famous photographers, often, even on Amazon, they can be very, very expensive if they're not in print at the moment, or even if they are in print. But Taschen have got a passion for producing high quality photo books at an affordable price, and this includes most of his famous photos in a really big volume, beautifully reproduced with black and white and some colour plates as well. So it's a really nice bit. Now, a little bit of background on Helmut Newton. He was born in 1920, died sadly in 2004. Born in Berlin in 1920, as I say, escaped Germany in 1938 after briefly being held in a concentration camp. And in fact, the lady who he worked for when he was training to be a photographer was actually killed in a concentration camp as well. He went to Singapore, worked as I think he worked as for one of the papers there for a short time, did some portrait photography, was then interned by the British for being a German national, and he was sent to Australia. Spent a bit of time in internment, then was released, I think in 1943, spent time as a fruit picker, joined the Australian Army as a driver. After the war he then became a British subject, opened up a photo studio. He married a lady called June Brown, who under her photography name is known as Alice Springs, if you look for her work as well. In about 1946, went to Melbourne, sort of opened up a fashion and theatre portrait studio, and he had his first big exhibition in 1953. In 1956 he got commissioned to do an Australian supplement for British Vogue, and through that he then got a 12-month contract with British Vogue. 1959, however, he returned to Australia to work for Australian Vogue, and then in 1961 went to Paris, and then he started working for people like Paris Vogue, France Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, and kind of developing his reputation, notoriety for being like a cutting-edge film photographer. Often his work is outside, on location, in strange locations, not that much work in the studio as well. In fact, that's something he talks about, that he enjoys going to places where maybe ordinary people can't always get to. He had a heart attack in 1970, which slowed him down a bit, but then throughout the 80s, throughout the 70s and into the 80s, he carried on building this impressive body of work. 1980 he did a series called Big News, with nudes, which is very famous. He did some work for Playboy, and then he moved to LA, and he died in a car crash in 2004, too soon, obviously, in my opinion. And if you probably like the work of people like David Bailey, Herb Ritt, kind of, then you'll probably enjoy Helmut Newton's work. I mean, even myself, there's some stuff that I don't particularly like. Don't particularly like, it's a bit strong, that I don't particularly enjoy, actually, and some stuff I think is absolutely fantastic. He'll definitely strike a chord when you look at the photos. You might go, wow, or you might go, gosh, wow, that is fantastic. As aside from the kind of the art and enjoying the look of the photograph as well, as a photographer, you could look at them and think of things like style and feel. For a lot of the photos, you've got the feel of like Berlin in the 1920s. That sort of feel. The idea of really having an image in your mind, and then creating this image. Maybe you've got an image of what architecture photography should be, or maybe it'd be portrait photography, and then taking that through and producing something that is outstanding, I think is the word. Too often perhaps we settle for stuff that's just good enough, but definitely with Helmut Newton's work, you get the idea that he was really passionate about producing this stuff, really engaged in the scenes he was creating and the images he was creating, and wanted to get a reaction out of people, probably, but it was also probably just coming from within. These were the type of images he loved to create, and and he created them. So there we go. So Helmut Newton work. I got my copy from Amazon.co.uk for about £20. It's a bargain. Nice big publication. Hundreds of photos. If you're into fashion or portrait photography, this guy should be high on your list of must-haves. There's not that many books that I can afford to buy anyway. Lots of them I pick up from the car boot, for a couple of quid. So my photography book collection is quite eclectic. Lots of different kind of random things, which is lucky and it's good. And there's a few photographers I always have my eye on that say, when I get enough money, I'll make sure I get some of their work, and Helmut Newton was one of them. So I'm really glad I've got this book, and it's a welcome addition to my collection. I think probably to yours too. My name's Rob from robnunphoto.com. Thanks for watching.